Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Destination Dynasty here at High Stakes. First of all, before we jump into the content, I just want to let you guys know if you love the content, if you like watching some of these videos, show some love to that like button down at the bottom of the screen, or if you need to, the dislike button. Either way, just show those thumbs some love, and we'll keep it moving. Also, if you haven't followed me on Twitter, you can find me at SportsDebateTom. All those links will be down in the description below. So, guys, as you can see by the title, we're talking about trading in Dynasty. Trading is such a big deal to constructing and really maintaining your Dynasty roster for the short term as well as the long term future. Real quick, a trade that just got made in my personal Dynasty league last night. An owner decided to trade Dez Bryant and Jimmy Graham away, and in return he received DeAndre Hopkins. So clearly this is a trade where somebody felt like they could bolster their tight end position. We know that Jimmy Graham has unfortunately underwhelmed in 2015, but he is a 28-year-old talent, still with some years left in the NFL, and you're also replacing the WR1 production you lost from DeAndre Hopkins' departure. And the other side of the coin, you look at the other team, they felt they had a decent tight end option with Gary Barnidge. They wanted to get younger at the wide receiver position. And we know, listen, DeAndre Hopkins is on his way to superstardom. I mean, he's a stud in the highest of orders. So, both teams felt like they made themselves better for the right now and for the future. So let's talk about that. Why was a trade like that important? Well, I could tell you that the team that lost DeAndre Hopkins, lost in the first round of the playoffs last year, okay? And he decided that he had Matt Forte, flip Forte for a first, used that first on TJ Yeldon, Jacksonville Jaguars running back, who we all know, and he also put Amir Abdullah on his roster. So you have a couple young upside talent running backs there. You got younger, obviously Forte just hurt his MCL. He's 30 years old, so you know what? He felt like he was making a good play, and I guess he decided that he wanted to add a dynamic tight end to his roster and replace that WR1 production with Dez. So let's look at this trade now. I mean, comment in the section below who do you guys think won the trade. But this is how we get better. I'm going to tell you my draft. Again, I won, so I picked last. I thought Brashad Perriman's talent coming out was justifiable for the last pick in a dynasty draft. Unfortunately, the injury's pretty much going to sideline him all year. I'm going to be patient. Also go back, check out the last episode if you haven't. Patience. I know it's ironic that I'm talking about trading, but trust me, they go hand in hand. So getting back to my league, I didn't have a second rounder because I traded away Brandon Marshall in a second for Calvin Johnson. So I went Perryman. Isaiah Crowell wasn't kept, so he was a draftable commodity. And then I just took a shot at running backs. Javorius Buck Allen, Cameron Artis-Payne, just a bunch of... I took a shot at Brandon Coleman with my last pick. So if you look at a draft like that, obviously I'm not getting any production from my first round draft pick, and my running backs have essentially turned into busts. So this is where trading comes into the equation, because you have to find ways to get better. So looking at my roster during the preseason, you are allowed to do trades before the season starts. This is Dynasty. Remember, long-term play. So when James White was still in the mix and Boom Herron was still with the Colts, I combined those guys with the second and a third rounder, and I shipped them off for Mark Ingram and Chris Ivory. And that kind of trade is what kept me afloat this year, because, again, you guys know my roster. I'm built around receivers. Martavis Bryant, Calvin Johnson, Demaryius Thomas, Jordan Matthews. I tried to increase that trend with a Brashad Perriman. Obviously, again, I'm going to have to wait till 2016 to collect on that investment, but one that I still like going for the future. So my running backs weren't that great. C.J. Anderson did not pan out. Obviously, as we know, he just had a good day against Green Bay, but it's not like he'd been lighting the world on fire. So what I had to do essentially was to put insurance, and I believe that Mark Ingram had enough volume to where he could put up RB1 numbers, and in a PPR, he's done just that. Chris Ivory's been a solid RB2 all season, so while I've kind of, I don't want to use the word jeopardize, but I've definitely slightly compromised my future by parting ways with a second and a third rounder. I still have the first to ensure that there's a nice cycle of youth entering my roster, because eventually Calvin's going to be done, Demarius is going to be done. So I was able to infuse more youth on my roster by maintaining my first round pick. But again, Mark Ingram 25, Ivory 27. I'm not saying they have long-term futures in the NFL, but they're definitely going to be options that I can use for next season. So, you know what? Keep in mind, trading draft picks is okay, guys. You don't have to stress the details. Now, unless you're in a position where your team is locked and loaded in every position but one, and you think a current commodity right now could put you over the top, then I don't endorse trading your first round pick. But again, you never know what next year will bring. The NFL resets every year, essentially. So you never know what players are going to be, where players are going to be, what their current health situations are going to be. There are so many factors. The team factor around them is huge. So there's just a lot of different things that affect a player and their fantasy value. So if you feel like you can win it this year, you know what, this is the time to trade first round picks, because the teams that aren't doing too hot, well, they're looking to just suck them all up because they're all in rebuild for next season. So don't underestimate trades. Use trading in combination with patience, because patience is huge. I've been getting a lot of offers for Martavis Bryant, and I know he just had a slightly game, but I'm not giving up. I think there's a lot of points to be had there. Pittsburgh's offense is ridiculous now with Ben Roethlisberger back. You don't even need Le'Veon Bell. Ben Roethlisberger can chuck it through the air 40 times, baby. So, again, trade draft picks with caution, but don't feel like you have to hoard them all up either. Draft picks, trading, right now, commodities are always better than question marks. So, you know what? I'm okay with trading draft picks if it helps me, especially like when I was able to keep my first. Like I said, I was really thrilled about that. But again, another guy, Tom Brady, got traded for a second. Tom Brady's looking like he's worth a first-round pick, and that was another trade made preseason. So, and that was actually the same guy traded for Marshall. So he was able to put Tom Brady on his roster for a second-round pick. So that's when a trade is definitely worth putting patience aside and saying, you know what, this is an acquisition that can help me for the right now and potentially the future. Don't look at age for Tom Brady. He looks like he's still 32 out there. So, clearly this is a move that benefited his roster. And again, you don't need to make the noisy trades. Again, you shouldn't be trading an RB1, a WR2, and a pick for Todd Gurley. I mean, you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? Sure, Gurley's a stud, but you don't want to give up too much. You want to be patient with your prospects. We live in such a right now world. You have to be patient with your prospects. If you want to move your veterans and some of your middle draft picks, go for it, because that's what can help you put your team over the top. So, thank you guys for watching this episode of Destination Dynasty Trading, because trading is huge. Just did an episode, and my phone just went off. Just did an episode of DebateGate with the editor of Rebel Media out in California, Mr. Lars Lewis. Go check out that episode if you missed it. We debate whether an RB1 is worth a PPR RB2 and wide receiver 2. Check us out on social in the description. And again, don't forget to give some love to that thumb, whether it's up or down. It still needs your loving. So, my name was Tom Jude. This was Destination Dynasty here at the High Stakes Sports Debates Network. Thank you guys for stopping by, and we will see you here next time. High Stakes Sports Debates.